Good morning to you all. I do not have any public comment that I've received. Maria, any public comment that you're aware of? None?
No public comment.
Okay. We have the May 7th minutes in our packet. Are there any questions, amendments, changes? Karin, thank you once again for hanging in with us every week. We appreciate your excellent job on those minutes. All right, we'll get right to it. Farmington Valley Health District. Oh, excuse me, I didn't do roll call. My mistake. Let me go there. Melissa Appleby.
I'm here.
Good morning.
Morning.
Jim Baldus.
I'm here.
Michael Berry.
Michael Berry's here.
Chief Bolter.
Yeah, I'm back. I lost the connection.
That's okay, Dave. Welcome back. Town Manager Maria Capriola.
Morning, here.
Kristen Formanek back yet?
I'm here.
Oh,
Yes.
Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. I missed you all.
Jennifer Gutanis.
Yep, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, Jennifer. Kevin Kowalski.
I'm here.
Morning, Kevin.
Morning.
Mark Kritz. Mark. I see Mark. Mike Long. Melissa Marquis.
Oh, nobody left them yesterday. Are they acting?
Mark Massaro. The ever-working Sarah Nielsen.
I'm here.
She is. Chris Peterson.
Okay, so they say what?
Chris probably tied up with family and stuff. Tom Roy. So
Good
Tom.
morning.
And then our good friend Nancy Sheets. There's Nancy's shining face today.
Hello.
Karin Stewart.
Morning, I'm here.
Morning, Karin. Neil Sullivan.
Good morning, everybody.
There's Neil. And my personal favorite, Gary Wilcox's iPad.
Good morning.
Good morning, Gary. Sorry, I know that joke gets old, but I still think it's funny. Getting my dad jokes warmed up here for number 2. All right, we will go right into the coronavirus response. The Farmington Valley Health District. Jennifer.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Just some updates with respect to statistics. In Connecticut, we've had just under 35,000 lab-confirmed cases and 3,000 deaths. Hospitalizations continue to decline, but our positive cases and deaths continue to increase. But positive cases are in large part a reflection of, work to increase our testing capability. In the Farmington Valley, we've had 480 positive cases. Simsbury's had 89. Overall, we've had 74 deaths, 10 deaths in Simsbury. The majority of our deaths are in populations over the age of 80 and or living in our long-term care facilities. One of the statistics that we're tracking is the percent of our population tested, and at this point, just under 1.5% of our population has been tested, and by tested, I mean the viral test. So we need to, see an increase in that so we have a better handle on the actual burden of this illness in our communities over time. The state is working to increase access and availability of testing across the state. We, as a health department, are most interested in seeing increased access to the viral testing. The viral testing tells us about active infection, and this is what we need to know about very quickly so that we can isolate those cases, identify contacts, quarantine those contacts, but it's this viral testing that allows us to slow the transmission of disease from person to person. We are, very diligently working to keep pace with the Reopen Connecticut Task Force guidelines to provide the guidance we need to our businesses and industries and others that are interested in reopening. As you can imagine, there are nuances to almost every type of business, industry, recreational facility, et cetera, and we're just working hard to provide the best public health guidance we can to those facilities as they work towards that May 20th guideline. As we move slowly towards this, or maybe not so slowly, towards this partial reopen on May 20th. I think the health department just really wants to urge everyone in our communities to take it slow and really be vigilant with respect to their own actions. First and foremost, if you have a pre-existing condition or if you're over the age of 65, we still really caution you about, engaging in some of these phase 1 early openings. For those that make individual decisions to, start to venture out, again, be vigilant. Stay home if you are sick. Continue with very aggressive hand hygiene. Wear your mask to protect yourself and to protect others. It's really going to be incumbent upon the general public as a whole and their actions as we begin to open up to really continue to slow the spread of this virus and protect our most vulnerable population. So just urge everyone to be sensitive and work to do the right things. I don't want to get too far out ahead in the planning, but looking forward, we are thinking about the flu season. And it's going to be critically important to hopefully encourage many more people than normally take advantage of flu vaccine to get vaccinated. We have begun some planning discussions with the VNA to see how we might creatively and jointly, make vaccine a little bit more readily available and accessible, and how we best push out those public health messages as a collective to see if we can increase uptake in flu vaccine this season, because in the fall we will definitely have both flu and coronavirus circulating, and we certainly want to do everything we can to protect people from adverse impacts associated with the flu if we can, while simultaneously recognizing there might be co-infection with COVID. So I think those are the things that we're working on. I can't stay on the phone call for the entire time. I have another call at 8:30. If anyone has any questions, I'll be around till then.
Jennifer, appreciate your work as always, and thank you for making time for us this morning. Quick one on my part, and then I'll open it up. There seems to be, I remember your guidance a week 2 weeks ago, that the state was looking for 50,000 tests a week, I think the number was, and we don't seem as a state to be getting to that point. So the messages that we're receiving from the state and the actual to get to this reopen point seems to be evolving. Is that fair, unfair?
No, I think that's very fair. I think this week was the first week that, we've seen some positive movement in that regard, but we're still not where we need to be. One other thing that I forgot to mention is the state is working with 211. They have both a website link as well as you can call 211, and they're beginning to identify all of the testing sites that are available. I don't know how comprehensive it is yet, but I think that is the state's plan for kind of one-stop shopping. And I'll share that link so it can be posted on the Simsbury website.
Okay, I appreciate that. And just to follow up, if it feels like we're still moving towards that 20th for that start to open up Connecticut very slowly from your side, and I know I'm asking you to speculate, I just don't want our businesses to get the rug pulled out from under them on the 19th or for others, and it's going to be another 2 weeks as a result of that testing. Do you think we're pretty much committed at this point, or is it's still up in the air?
I can only speculate, but my guess is the rug would get pulled out if we began to see significant increases and clustering in hot spots of illness that were likely to surge our healthcare system. If we needed to stop a surge, a hot spot, if you will, then we would be looking to see, well, what are those potential exposure points and how we need to protect the public.
Okay, so at this point, where you guys, or the state and the healthcare professionals, you folks, we're looking more towards surgical dealing with the hotspots versus the broad brush of the entire state going forward is what we're being set up for?
Good question. I think, yes, moving forward, that is, I think, how ideally it would work.
Okay.
But I can't speculate as to how the governor might deal with some of that.
No, fair enough. And I know these are tough questions. I'm just trying to think about, because it's obviously an ever evolving concept here. Yeah. So, but your insight.
From a public health perspective, in a best case scenario, we would be looking to identify those early hotspots, see if we could identify what that common source of exposure potentially was, and then implement the public health measures that would stop that exposure, be that closing of a business, be that slowing down of some of the reopenings, and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. That's for those of us that aren't as connected to this, that makes a lot of sense. So from the public standpoint, we're going to see this continue to evolve. We're going to see the messaging continue to come out and be updated as needed, right? Just like we've seen through all of this. So folks need to continue to pay attention and be diligent.
Yes.
All right. I just monopolized the floor. Other questions for Jennifer?
Yeah, I have a quick one, John, if I can.
Yep.
Jennifer, my understanding then is the folks can just go and get a test or sign up for a test, or do they have to have symptoms?
The guidelines for who is a priority continue to evolve. I think as we're still building towards that broader capacity, the state is taking it slow because we don't want to find ourselves in a situation as we ramp up testing that we don't have the testing that we need for instance, the most severe, or those in hospitals or long-term care facilities, et cetera. But now you no longer need a doctor's note. And I think depending on who you call and where you go, the general public access to a test is becoming more readily available. There is a cautionary statement, though. Viral testing of asymptomatic individuals, if it's positive, it tells you that you are asymptomatic and can transmit and spread the disease. But if it is negative, it does not necessarily mean that tomorrow you won't be positive, or after an exposure you might not be positive. So I think we have to be careful about interpretation of a negative virology test in asymptomatic individuals.
Yeah, I'm only asking because if we want to advertise, whether it's on the radio or through this venue here, for people to start going and getting tested, and that will increase your test rates in the Valley to get an understanding of where we stand in the system.
Yeah, I think, Kevin, we'll have a better sense over the next week or two as to whether there's sufficient testing capacity to throw the doors wide open. I don't think we're there quite yet.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand the state's stance on it, because they want more testing, but yet unless you have, indications, you can't get testing. So I'm a little, like I said, I'm just a little bit puzzled about that.
Yeah, no, I think we all are feeling like we wish we had more information than we actually do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Any questions? All right, Jennifer, thank you so much again for your time. I know it's very busy these days, and we appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Maria Capriola, Town Manager's Report.
Hey, good morning. Thank you. So as we mentioned last week, we were moving forward to reopen the transfer station and our tennis courts. So as of Saturday of just this past week, we are back fully operational at the transfer station. We do have modified practices at the transfer station, but we are providing full scope of services. So I know a lot of folks were getting antsy about their brush as they were doing spring cleanup. We are back to accepting brush at the transfer station. Our town and Board of Education tennis courts were reopened late Friday. We do have modified practices. At this time, we're permitting members of the same household to play essentially recreational play at our tennis courts. There are some additional guidelines and restrictions for play at the tennis courts. We have that information posted at the courts as well as online for people interested. We have been planning for a soft reopening of various municipal services, programs, and buildings for the summer. Some of our primary areas of focus have been our staffing throughout the organization. We're going to be working on gradually phasing in administrative staff and having them return to our work locations. Something that I believe Tom may speak to under the public works item is, again, returning our public works crews to full strength, but again, with modified practices. At this time, our public buildings do remain closed to the public. And I anticipate that will probably be at least until the 4th of July. What we're looking to do for the month of June is, again, continue to screen individuals for appointments for services that, for whatever reason, can't be provided online, online by phone or through email. Again, some other areas of focus for us we are working on a curbside pickup system for library materials, again, hoping to do that in the month of June. Our summer camp season and summer pool season. So working on those if we're able to provide those services this summer. Our facility closures remain in place otherwise. So our playgrounds, our skate park, and our basketball courts do remain closed at this time. Additional closures for our meetings. Our meetings do remain closed to the public. That is now until further notice. I did check in with the Freedom of Information Commission to see if they had heard any updates or anything otherwise. They have not yet heard when that might be lifted. So at this point, at a staff level, we're planning at least for the entire month of May that we'll be operating sort of in this virtual meeting world. We are, again, utilizing video Zoom at this point, airing meetings live through SCTV. Mostly from a resources perspective, with us operating in this mode, our regulatory bodies are continuing to meet. And then some of our committees that either need to take action on an item or if there is some sort of time-sensitive issue before them, those groups are continuing to meet as well through this virtual environment. I believe we mentioned at the last meeting, again, we cannot hold our budget referendum this year. So the anticipated budget adoption date will be this Tuesday, May 19th by the Board of Finance. A reminder that our property tax deferral program, we are now accepting applications for that program. The application is available on the tax collector's website. To date, we have approved 14 applications for that program. And that has resulted in approximately $120,000 in deferred revenue for the upcoming fiscal year. Briefly want to speak to donation items that are priority, and I think Kristen will probably go more into this during her report on social services, but do just want to remind folks that if they would like to donate to social services, some of the priority items are toiletries and laundry detergent, diapers, wipes, baby food, kid-friendly snacks, non-perishable food items, and gift cards to grocery stores, gas stations, and laundromats. A quick update regarding some of our business activity. Staff has been given the authority by the Zoning Commission to issue permits for temporary outdoor dining for restaurants. We can do that through an administrative approval process. The intent there is to expedite the process and lessen the burden on our restaurants as they begin to reopen. Our staff, the Farmington Valley Health District, the Fire District, have been working collaboratively to establish guidelines for the temporary outdoor dining. And the Board of Selectmen earlier this week granted a fee waiver through September 30th for restaurants applying for these various permits. And then lastly, for my report, I just want to remind residents there are a lot of opportunities for them to stay informed through our social media accounts. And we did recently conduct another public service announcement with the help of SCTV. That was released late last week, and it's available online at the SCTV website as well as a number of the town's social media accounts. And that concludes my report.
We lost Sean. He's just trying to get back in.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. And I don't have, Melissa, I don't have my agenda actually handy at the moment. Did you see?
It would go to emergency management.
Nancy, thank you. We'll take
Not a problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin Klosky and Mike Berry.
Yep, I'll take over now and then I'll let Kevin jump in. With emergency management, there's really not that much more going on. We are still busy, but it's not much different than what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. We are continuing to monitor the conference calls with the government and the state. WSIM is continuing to pump information out in conjunction with the school system, the police department, and now we're putting up information from Food Share. The Small Business Pod on Tuesdays, in conjunction with the Incident Management Team, the National Guard, and the Department of Public Health, is continuing, and we did pick up some more masks for small businesses. The Long-Term Care Pod, which is on Wednesdays, supposedly had the most equipment that it's ever had. The governor announced the other day that more and more equipment is coming in, and that's a good sign. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up and actually get out of emergency mode and get into a proactive mode of being able to distribute proper equipment that everybody needs. And again, we are starting to switch over from the emergency mode over to the recovery mode. And we were looking forward to setting up the recovery committee and emergency management being a big part of that. With that, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Thanks, Michael. Again, I want to echo the thoughts is that now we're going to be probably in the most important phase of this, and that's going to be recovery. And keeping the recovery going and not falling back into the emergency itself again. So we'll be monitoring that. Thankfully, with Jennifer's work we'll work through it. Again, our position now is working with the businesses. We've been communicating with all of them to try to safely open in the next week or two. Some areas that we're working with them on is expanding their business to the outside, would in some cases go into parking lots and driveways. One of the things that, again, as I spoke last week, is we are concerned and we've set a list of requirements, essentially, or guidance for them to use in parking lots. Quite frankly, we don't want them to survive the virus and get hit by a car. So, it's an important feature that we work with them, and we're going to do it all on a one-on-one basis. I think it's the best way to do it, and it's the best way to serve them. So we're going to try to keep the standard going and keep the folks safe outside. We're working with the funding stream. Again, we've been spending dollars for PPE in the last 2 months. And Maria understands this point, is where we had the commissioner tell us yesterday that don't worry about it. We got plenty of money and we'll pay for it. Well, that may be true in some cases, but we'll be following up with the paperwork. There's actually a webinar this afternoon that we'll be following that will give us the route on reimbursements. So,
Kevin, did you get that recorded? That don't worry, there's plenty of money? Actually,
it is. And we got a interesting email this morning explaining her concept. So that came out this morning. So
shocking. Okay.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing. We in the fire department are going to also start the fire safety inspections back up on June 1st. Again, we have been only responding to emergencies, emergency inspections, things of that nature. We're going to go back into our reoccurring inspection program June 1st, pending any major changes. It's going to be a bit of a different setup. We won't be going into individual apartments at this point. We will go into only community areas, open businesses, and things of that nature. again, it's all about opening and doing it safely is what we're going to be paying attention to. The PPE disbursement program is still going on through the business and industry. We are picking the products up, bringing them here to the firehouse, and then we give the businesses, and Sarah disperses some of them out to the businesses, and we'll do that on a weekly basis. If any other businesses want to, we've been communicating with the chamber to make sure everyone is covered on this. We fielded several calls this week of how to do it, and we're also getting it accomplished through the business community. So that's an important factor, that they can get PPE and open up their businesses. As far as the firefighters, and I can't speak of the ambulance, we're trying to get as much PPE as possible. I know that I think the Chief Bolter is looking for some N95 certified. That's something that may have just come in last week, so hopefully we can get a line on those, as well as gowns on the next pickup. We're going to order probably a batch for the fire department, and I'm sure, Nick, you could probably order some for yours too, and you can store it here. Whatever you want to do, put your name on it, or keep them in your police station. And Karin, the same thing goes for you. So let us know if we can help you in any ways getting the product. And I know Michael has been working in the disbursement site every week to facilitate that. That's passing out of all the PPE equipment. So that's about it for the emergency management portion of it. Any questions? More than happy to answer.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Any questions for Kevin? And I apologize, I was having connectivity issues, but I'm obviously back now.
No, one other thing, I'm really happy that the 20th, that hopefully the barbershops will open. Otherwise, I was going to have to check on Nick's barber.
Oh, I missed you guys. Well, that's a beautiful intro for the chief. Chief, how's our police department doing?
Pretty good. And my haircut is doing well too. It's pretty easy. We're doing okay. Thankfully, everybody is healthy. We still are having about 20% of our staff is working remotely. That's getting a little bit more difficult as we go on. Things are starting to pile up a little bit. So people have been coming in on occasion, spreading that out, and a little bit more than they have over the last 5 weeks. But we're working on a plan to bring people back at some point and in some sort of increments and schedule. The lobby of the police department continues to be closed to the public except for emergencies, right along with Town Hall and the rest of the town buildings. We're continuing to get some PPE rations through the state, and thank you again to Karin Stewart and the Ambulance Association for doing our pickups on that. And I will communicate with Kevin about those, ordering those N95s. As far as our activity, cars are still being entered into. They're unlocked. Thankfully, we have not had any cars stolen in the last week or so, knocking on some wood here. But we have had people enter cars that are left unlocked, and they're rifled through, and their things are taken or looked for. And the bears are out. And as we saw at our 350th parade the other day, a very large bear came out and followed part of the parade. That's basically all I have. If there's any questions or concerns, feel free.
Chief, I appreciate that. Yeah, and it was, as we talked about at the top of the meeting here, it was fitting that for our 350th birthday, there was a bear that joined the parade of fire department, police cruisers, ambulance, public works. So certainly a fitting tribute to the town where bears have become our neighbors.
Yes.
But I did appreciate you coming over and making sure that the small group that was social distancing was safe. My daughter got a kick out of getting to see the chief. So as always,
okay. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Chief? All righty. Appreciate it. Karin, ambulance.
Yep. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We're repeating almost like last week. Our staff continues to stay healthy. We've had no issues with anybody coming down with any symptoms or illnesses. Our call volume still remains down. Our transport volume is also down. And I would say in the past week, we've not transported any patient that I'm aware of that has tested COVID positive. So that's a good upswing for us. I went yesterday to collect the state allotment of PPE. Some more Tyvek suits, some more hand sanitizer, some more surgical masks, very few N95s, a handful of gowns, and that was really about it. And they informed me that they would be handing out probably at least through June some more supplies for us. Otherwise, we still stay on the hunt to try, like Kevin is, to try to find more supplies to stock up so that we have more than we will ever need. But otherwise, we're just still status quo at this point. I'll take any questions if anybody has anything for me.
Appreciate that, Karin, and thank you for the participation for the ambulance in the parade as well. That was cool.
Oh, not a problem.
Any questions for Karin? All right. Chief Baldus, Fire.
Hi, good morning. We're similar to the ambulance in the fact that we remain at full strength with no health issues of any of our membership, so we're very grateful for that. Call volume as well continues to stay actually fairly low. But we're able to respond, obviously, to anything that does come up. So it's been pretty quiet. We're anxiously waiting and looking at June 1st as an opportunity for us to start doing some station-only training, obviously taking into consideration the need for social distancing and other activities. But it is obviously very important for us to maintain a level of hands-on training for our firefighters. After 2.5 months, it's time to get back to work in that regard. But we will do it obviously in a very planned method. So we are looking forward, and that'll start the 1st of June. Beyond that, we did have the district annual meeting that took place in a virtual setting, broadcasted by WSIM, and the budget was approved by the fire district with a decrease in the mill rate from a 1.2 to 1.19 decrease in the mill rate, so which is certainly, I think, a positive message for the community, but without obviously impacting any of our services to that community. So we're very, very pleased with that. So quick report for today.
Chief, appreciate that. Obviously, the mill rate, while it is small, it is important because on the town side, we're striving to do the same thing, and the Board of Finance will pass the budget in a couple of days here. So thank you for the work from the fire district there.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Chief? All right, Neil, Board of Education.
Yeah, I can be brief today, Sean. We're the first meeting of our return to Simsbury Schools task force happened on Monday with the various stakeholders on our end who have to think about what a new normal in terms of returning to school will look like. And we had a good meeting. We've got more questions than answers right now, but I think we've got the right questions on the table. So we had a very good discussion. And then other than that, we are awaiting a little bit further guidance that's supposed to come out. They've given us the date of May 15th, which is tomorrow. So, and that's supposed to be further guidance from the state related to summer programming and summer camp opportunities, and also some further guidance about a graduation ceremony. So once we get that, we will be able to take our next steps on those fronts. So I'll leave it there for today. Not a lot else is new for us. We're certainly busy, but it's as we've been in the mode of the last few weeks.
Yeah, appreciate that. I know, much like from the health side, it's a constant moving target for you guys on the education side. So appreciate all your work there. Any questions for Neil? All right. Tom Roy, Public Works.
Oh, good morning. Well, I think as we are slowly starting to transition, we are looking at preparing all of the town buildings to start returning for our soft opening. We're looking at making sure we have the right level of protections in place. We're looking at some screening. There's going to be some signage, definitely some engineering controls and some procedures. So that's an ongoing effort. And I think part of that, in order to get some of that work completed, we're looking to bring back our public works staff back to full strength, probably sometime within the next 2 weeks, hopefully middle of next week if things go well. Right now, we just want to formalize some of our procedures to make sure that when we bring back the larger staff, that they're going to be able to keep the appropriate distance for break times, lunch, even vehicles. We've basically said, unless you are wearing your mask, we're giving everybody the option of using 2 vehicles to get to a job site. We're also looking at buying hand sanitizer in bulk, looking at, gallons, maybe even a pallet. As everybody knows, it's been in short supply, but being that we're looking to buy it in a way that we could then refill other smaller containers, it's something that looks like that may be an option for us and could actually be a resource, I think, for the entire town. So we're working with our suppliers on that. The landfill opening, I think went very well. We were expecting a crush of people. It really was not bad at all. We've continued to leave in place a number of barricades and cones to help them with their social distancing at that facility. And as we talked about at the beginning of the call, we are continuing with construction activity. Firetown Road, I think by the end of the month, is going to look just about as good as new. And as much as we kid around, it's really going to be a big improvement on that road and a bunch of the other paving work that we have scheduled for the summer. So that's it from Public Works.
I appreciate that. I would, if it is in the budget, I would send flowers to the VNA for the paving project. But it's obviously you've got a lot going on, a lot coordinated there, and appreciate that. It's again, I always see it, but these updates, I'm reminded that every piece of this town is taken care of. From the sidewalks all the way to public safety. So it's really awesome to see you guys all doing this. Thank you.
Well, maybe instead Nancy would rather like a bouquet of like N95 masks or something.
Maybe.
I'm thinking alcohol, but I know that's inappropriate to suggest.
We'll save that for the gala when we finally have it for our 350th birthday.
Okay.
All right. Kristen, welcome back. Social Services.
Thank you. It's good to be back. So Social Services continues to remain busy. We did another curbside food and gift card distribution last week on Monday, and we served 111 households. We've been looking at the trend of food insecurity and comparing it to our typical usual programs, which is our Cheese Day once a month. And in our Cheese Day, we typically serve an average of 80 households. So we are seeing a real spike with an additional at least 20 to 30 households at our curbside food distribution. We have been very fortunate with a large incoming amount of public donations of cash and a lot of donations from our businesses, which has been incredibly helpful in helping us to keep those bags stocked. We have a lot of food donations, and the cash donations we've been using to purchase the gift cards to the grocery store to give to the families. And those have been really well received and appreciated. We think moving forward, we're going to continue with this model probably for a few months going forward, because we know that we won't be able to have that large number of crowd into our building. We anticipate doing that on an every 3-week schedule moving forward. We continue to be the hub for the hand-sewn masks. We've received just right over 900 masks donated to us, which is phenomenal. And we're giving them back out almost as quickly. We do have calls for masks every day. We're going to be working with the chief and the police department. They had a great idea, which we're excited about, to have potentially an officer outside of Eno just doing a random curbside distribution of masks. We want to make it really easy for people to get one, especially as the community opens back up and people are needing a mask to be able to get outside. So we're going to do our best to make sure everybody in town has a mask. In addition to that, we are going to be starting a pet food and pet supply distribution and call for donations. We're working through that with the library. They've been a great partner for us, and we're hoping that that's going to start at the end of this week. We're going to be looking to receive donations of pet food and pet supplies, and then we'll be collecting them and distributing them back out to our families that are in need. Other than that, we're going to be, working with the health department and working with our town's guidance and town manager Maria as we slowly move back into the building and start to become readjusted to that way of life again. So we're doing well, and I'm glad to be back and healthy again. And any questions, I'm open to them. Thank you.
Kristen, appreciate all your work. And if you need additional support or volunteers for the mask giveaway, I'm sure we can round up some folks to help you out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Questions, comments for Kristen? All right. Thank you much. Nancy, VNA.
Good morning. It's really nice to see everybody. Finally, I'm on a laptop and I can actually see you. I'm happy to report a very quick report. We're doing well. We continue to find ways to find PPE. We, partnered with a local business that we were given as a recommendation a while back, a very long time ago. And because the business was in the service industry where they order certain PPE, and literally what was supposed to be a shipment through flights had to get shifted to being put on a boat. So we were kind of waiting on the slow boat from China in reality, but it's come. And so aside from gowns, which we really do need more of, I'm feeling confident that we're kind of geared up for round 2 and or 3. We still take care of patients. We have seen a real surge in the last 2 weeks of patients and referrals from doctors' offices and hospitals that are not COVID related. So it's clear that the hospitals are beginning to open up to doing elective procedures. So I would think that ambulance and others are going to start to get a little busy. I don't think it's random that we started to see this surge. I think it's going to continue. I think, too, that a lot of people are recognizing the value of trying to be treated in a home care setting as a preventive measure and a new way of life. So I think things are going to be interesting moving forward. I hate to be the glass half empty kind of girl, but I got pushed a study. It came out of Australia yesterday. Here we are making sure that the whole world has at least a cloth mask on, and it's our best option at the moment, and I think it serves a purpose. But it was a study that came out of Australia that suggested that cloth masks are not even close to being able to help, with the transmission and spread of bacterial and or viral disease. And I just hope that I'm kind of really concerned, as Jennifer is, with regards to the May 20th date, that, the majority of the world is not wearing surgical masks, and we don't have the capacity to give those out. So I hope that as we continue to learn about all of this, because we really are still learning, and it's changing, that we're not jumping the gun. We're just going to continue to push out the message to people to be conservative and to really not falter on any of the CDC recommendations with hand washing and, good technique of staying home and being concerned about where you touch and what you do. Because I think it's really the right message for a long time.
Nancy, that's a good reminder. Appreciate that. Folks, questions for VNA? All right. Appreciate all you do.
One more thing, Sean.
Yes,
I am really excited, as Jennifer alluded to. We are going to partner with them to hopefully provide drive-through vaccination clinics this fall. We're just kind of looking, because obviously our biggest thing is going to have to be to reach out to emergency personnel in towns to see where that's best suited for. As Kevin had said, one of the things that we started talking about, which I never would have considered, that you literally have to have people present in the parking lot to make sure that the person has put their car in park so you don't run over somebody while you're doing a drive-through situation. It's amazing the logistics you have to consider, and you certainly hope that we don't create more danger now that we've been successful with the disease, that we don't kill each other in an automobile. So I appreciate all that emergency does to try to help safeguard the rest of us who don't think about those things.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. All right. Thank you, Nancy. Sarah, how are our businesses doing?
So I'm going to echo just a couple of the comments that have been made before. We are working with our partners, including the Health District, Fire, Police, Planning, the town of Simsbury, to prepare our businesses to reopen on May 20th. The outdoor dining, I want to give a kudos to the town of Simsbury because we were ahead of the governor's task force in streamlining the process and waiving the fees, and in providing frequently asked questions so that we could be responsive to the business community and to those restaurants, in advance of what the governor's team did. And then we just made some minor changes to make sure that we were mirroring what DECG put out. We continue to advocate for business issues at the state level, and we were successful in helping get part of an executive order, again, to streamline the process even more with the Liquor Control Commission. I sent out an email that the DECG self-certify button, the self-certify link for businesses, which is required before they reopen on May 20th, is finally live as of this morning. It was not live last night, so it just went live, and they need to fill out some information. When they complete the survey, they will get a reopen CT badge that they can display, they can print, they could put on social media, but it is a requirement for our business community before they open. So remember that. We're dealing with clarification questions with the Health District. For example, spray tanning for tanning salons are able to open, but spray tans by employees are not allowed, only by machines, et cetera. So we're dealing with that level of detail in answering these questions for our business community to make sure that they're opening in the right way, and also working with non-essential retail for best practices, contactless pickup, curbside, again, ways to minimize interaction and minimize risk. Okay. We are thrilled to be partnering with the Farmington Valley Visiting Nurses Association. I've been working with Nancy and Jean on setting up flu shot clinics for our businesses, and we've had a fantastic response from the business community so far. I have at least 6 or 7 businesses, including a larger size, over 70 employees, that is looking to do that. So I just want to, again, thank the VNA. They've been amazing. And we're trying to very strategically, as we've talked about this, and we're getting through COVID-19, we're also trying to very strategically plan for the fall and make sure that that we can eliminate or reduce as much risk as possible, especially with having two different possible, issues happening with the flu and COVID resurgence. A kind of non-COVID thing, but also related to public safety. We've been working with Mark Rudowitz. There's a lot of questions, not just about bears, but foxes and wildlife. As you're seeing a lot of wildlife start to spring up, they're getting a ton of questions. Just a reminder that Mark Rudowitz is, I'm going to say, arguably the best in the state. He's wonderful for animal control. He also works with certified rehabbers if it's not cats and dogs. So, we're getting a ton of questions about that on social media as well. And Mark is always a great first call. And if he can't help, he can put you in touch with those that can. I don't know if this was mentioned. I know it's been mentioned on social media, but a reminder that after May 20th, there are no more parades. You can't book them anymore. And we were getting a lot of questions about that, but there's tons of people that will be returning to work. So a reminder to the community for that. And then finally, just a reminder that if you are planning to reopen as a business, please email me. We're constantly updating our business list, our restaurant list. We're getting all that together in advance of the May 20th date. It's on shopsimsbury.com. The town of Simsbury has been great in pushing that out as well, and on our Simsbury Facebook. So we're really trying to keep the most current information. You're going to see some restaurants that will be reopening for the first time on May 20th, Soma Grill, Abigail's, etc. So it's going to be a brand new set of information. So make sure to be constantly sending your information and checking that information out if you're a resident. That's it.
Appreciate that, Sarah. Thank you. Folks, any questions for Sarah?
I had just one comment, Sarah. This is Nick. I just wanted to second what you said on Mark Rudowitz. He is by far the best in the state. Thank you.
I believe so. And again, remember, if you have any wildlife questions, please start with the animal control officer at SPD.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Do we have others on the phone for an update? You guys still hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. No sermon this morning. I know that will disappoint my peer, Chris Peterson, but appreciate everybody's hard work. Appreciate you keeping us all safe. And I will talk to everyone again next week.